I didn't stop the timer. It was just a couple of minutes.
How you can get a certificate from Harvard for free. So once you all signed up with everything, they will redirect you to the actual course page, which has basically nothing to do with EDX. EDX is only used for keeping track of your grades. And so once you're all signed up, it will redirect you to this page, which is the courses page. Over here you have all your lectures on the left. Right here you watch your lecture. Pro tip, you can watch the lecture twice. Don't feel frustrated because you have to watch the lecture 3 times. If you don't understand something, just watch the lecture again. And you watch the lecture here, and then afterwards, you have your problem set, which over here gives you exactly the instructions that you need in order to submit your assignment and what the assignments are, etc. And so you don't really deal with EDX at all. Maybe at the end to submit your final project, I think it goes through EDX, or you submit it through EDX, and then they give you a final grade. But again, you don't have to pay for anything. And over here on the left, you'll see that it says CS50 certificate. So this is a certificate that is produced by Harvard. It has nothing to do with EDX. And once you confirm that you finish the course, you will follow the instructions here, and you can get a certificate with your name on it from Harvard University without having to pay for it 100% for free. And so this is the reason why I say that it's not worth getting the separate EDX certificate. You're basically paying, or you're gonna pay for the same thing that you're already getting for free.
Ali se hizo piloto del.
So once you finish 100% for free, and so this is the reason why I say that it's not worth getting the separate EDX certificate. You're basically paying, or you're gonna pay for the same thing that you're already getting for free. So once
A big shout out to my friend. I'm going to be doxxed, guys. Someone is messaging me. Tuk tuk. Deje el follow. No tengo las alertas puestas. I don't have the alert systems on. Yay.
you finish programming with Python, let's go back over here. You should definitely do the main course. And the main course is cs50x.
Right. So I'm going to mute the stream because it's bothering me. So the path is first CS50 Python, then CS50X, I guess. Yes. Sorry guys, I had to do some business numbers. 3, 8, ta, ta, pam, pum, pam, pim, pam, pum. Okay, enough is enough. Okay, where was I? And I already installed LinkedIn, so I'm going to start to do this right now.
Over here, again, you're going to enroll in the course, you follow the on-screen instructions, and then I'll redirect you eventually to the main courses page, which looks like this. You'll see it's slightly longer, 10 weeks. Again, you're just going to follow all the instructions that are on here, and eventually, once you finish all your assignments, you'll be able to get your certificate. Also, you have your grade book, which if you click on it, you'll be able to see your grades. For example, if I click on mine here, you'll see that I've completed all the assignments. And once I completed all the assignments, this green notification here showed up telling me how to get my CS50 certificate. Click here, whatnot, and follow the instructions, get your free certificate. Once you finish the main course, at this point you pretty much have a fairly robust knowledge of the final project for the main course is to build your full stack application using Flask and Jinja, which if you wanted to, you could totally write your own app that you can then sell to other people with that. Now, that's probably not a good idea still, because obviously Flask is an okay framework, but it's fairly simple. If you wanted to use a more robust framework for more complicated apps, if you wanted to make your database a lot easier to work with, and maybe even abstract SQL out of the whole equation, maybe just write everything, including your backend code and your database code, all in Python, then you need to take the next course. And so the next course that you need to take now is CS50's web programming with Python and JavaScript. And over here, in this course, you're going to go deeper into Python, how to use classes, how to...
I think I will do all that this man is recommending, and after that, I see that there is a CS50 in game development. Maybe I will take that and do something to practice and upload it in the future.
Abstract SQL and work directly with models using Django. You're going to learn about React and JavaScript. Whereas the main course is fairly wide and it's teaching a lot of different areas in computer science, the web programming course goes deeper into programming from the web, specifically using Python. And so again, once you sign up for this course, it'll take you to their dedicated page. You can go ahead and you know the drill. After you finish all your assignments, you'll get a certificate from this. And at this point, you probably have a very nice portfolio. And I would totally recommend at this point you make yourself a CV, you make yourself a portfolio website, and you start applying for jobs. I have a separate video on this channel, I'll link it below, describing how I marketed my services after finishing CS50 and how I managed to land a job. So again, at this point, you're fairly proficient at programming for the web, and you should be able to get a junior developer job, preferably at a local company, because there's probably like a smaller amount of applicants. I'm sure it'll be easier for you to sell yourself as someone who can get the job done, who can learn on the job. And so you can either stop here and just go out in the world, either work on your own project or get a job as a junior, which if you do that, that's totally fine. But I would recommend you do two more courses. One of them is the artificial intelligence course. So again, I'm not going to go through it, but it's the same procedure. You sign up, you follow the instructions there, you complete the course, and what you're going to get out of that course really is you're going to be a lot more proficient on object-oriented programming, and to a certain level also algorithms, which will just add to your general knowledge, will make you more proficient in Python. And again, I've heard something like you need 10,000 lines of code in order to really become good at coding, and that's just adding to it. On top of all these courses, I do recommend, and I remember hearing from David Malin a while ago, that he recommends students should take a dedicated algorithms course, and the course that he pointed to is Princeton's algorithms course. And so here's the course. It's via Coursera, which means that it's a premium course. You do have to pay for a membership. I think it's not that much, maybe like $50 a month. It could be less, I don't remember right now. Again, this course will strengthen your data structures, your algorithms, and they teach it in Java, which is a language that is not taught at CS50. I'm in the process of enrolling for this course. I still haven't taken it. It's definitely on my to-do list. And again, just because I have a job now doesn't mean that I stop learning. You always want to continue learning, and I recommend that if you're already working on a project that's profitable, or if you already have a job, you can still put in 2 hours a day of coding when you have free time. It's possible. And an algorithms course in Java will just add to your skill set. Doesn't mean that you have to become a Java developer eventually, but I think that adding an additional language has a lot of benefits. And algorithms, data structures, even if you're not going to use that all the time, it's still good to have at least the fundamentals of how to write efficient code and how to solve computing problems efficiently. So that's it for this video. I hope that it was helpful. If you have any questions, feel free to write them below. I wanted to emphasize the obvious, and that is that once you start the learning path, do not deviate from it. Do not start one course and then go to a different course and then try to come back a while later. That's just complicating everything for you. If you don't understand something, what you need to do is continue to find the solution until you find it. You do not, just because you feel frustrated, you do not go now and start a new course.
Responding to emails takes time, but not with Grammarly.
Whoops.
In a few clicks,
I
Grammarly's
already did
generative
that.
AI.
This was a year ago. CS means computer science. Runs between CS50 and CS101. I guess it was called. CS50. Okay. Right. guess I had to do Python first, then cs50x, then cs50 web programming with Python and JavaScript. Then I have to marketing my services. Then after that I have to work if I want to with cs50 artificial intelligence, and if I have any money, pay the Princeton algorithm part 1 Coursera course. I'm going to put this in this list. I'm going to put in this list game development. I like I truly like to read stories and to play video games. I don't know if it has any relation with doing the games, but I don't think it will be too much. It will be too tedious to do a game if I already like to make a good story. I would like to learn how to write a good story. Get a moment. Okay. Maybe in the future I'm going to put this my flashcard, my notes, my brain maps, everything. I'm going to put it in online in a, I don't know, maybe in a drive document, in something for you to download it. From now, let's just start with. Okay, I'm streaming right now. Okay. I was afraid I wasn't on live. Uh, Alright. Okay. I'm going to change window. C15. No, this isn't. This isn't. What? Right. Let's do this for this like Snapchat. I'm already in the CS50 Discord group. I don't know why it doesn't. What? Nah, there it is. It was very difficult to change screens, function and variables, variables, function argument side effects, books, return variables, pseudocode parameter, str parameters, int operation. I don't know anything. I don't know. I don't know any of these. I'm going to take notes first. I'm going to watch it 3 or 4 times, the same video as the video says. Functions. Okay, this goes here. Functions, arguments, side effects, efectos secundarios, books, Bugs Bunny, return, values, variables, comments, pseudocode, str. My back is killing me. I'm sorry if this isn't like an ASMR video. STR. Fuck. Parameters. Int. Returns. Maybe tomorrow at the morning I'm going to take the test in English. I'm going to write it down now so I don't forget. I'm going to put this at the side of, of the desk because I let all my notes there. 2304 25. So tomorrow I gotta do the test. EF test. I'm going to see how it is the test. EF test. And I'm going to improve my LinkedIn account. So that's for tomorrow. EF test skills, improve the LinkedIn account, and what it's left from today. Function and variables. I'm going to answer. I'm going to look for the word if I am pronunciating. Variables. Function and variables. Functions and variables.
I'm going to look it up.
I'm going to look it up. Alright, all clear. So tomorrow, EF test and improve the LinkedIn account. This is going to be public. I hope nothing of my too personal information gets leaked. Interactive mode. Anyway, I'm going to change all my information to something more private at some point. Okay, so this is it. Let's get it started. I'm going to put my notes like this, so I could have more space to write all the information that's going to be poured in my brain, in my head. Yes, I was already taking this course, so I know something, but really I didn't pick attention. I didn't take it. I'm going to look it up. I wasn't paying attention that time that I was taking this course. I'm sorry. I am sorry with the team that was producing this type of free courses.
All right, this is CS50's Introduction to Programming with Python. My name is David Malin, and this is our week on functions and variables. But odds are many of you, most of you, have never actually programmed before, so let's start by doing just that. Let me go ahead here and open up my computer, and on it a program called Visual Studio Code, or VS Code, which is just a very popular program nowadays for actually writing code. Now, you don't have to write code.
I never understand this. The terminal and all the VSB studio, all the Visual Studio of the BJ Malan looks different than mine. I'm gonna show you. You already see it. This is how it looks, my Visual Studio. I don't remember. I guess it was this. One sec. I don't care. I don't remember if this. No, this isn't mine. Open editor, so welcome. No, this isn't mine. Search. Extension. File. Open file. No, this isn't mine. Where am I? Oh, I don't remember where I left my projects. I'm going to create a new folder for this. I have a I have a folder that I call jobs where I apply for many. No, no, I don't apply. I organize all the things that I wanted at some point to learn that or I didn't learn fully, or I learned but I left it behind. Codes. So this is going to be file, open folder, carpetas, jobs, trabajos, codes, carpeta. Right. Yes. All right. So let's go back to. I don't know if I could. I mean, I ain't showing really important things. I have my YouTube channel in the other screen. I mean, in the other window of Explorer, of Chrome, and my Discord. Nah, better just change windows like this every time I wanted to go from this to there. Uh,
All right, this is CS50's Introduction to Programming with Python. My name is David Malin, and this is an introduction to Visual Studio Code for CS50. Visual Studio Code, or VS Code, is a very popular program nowadays for writing code. It's technically a text editor, or nowadays really an IDE, an integrated development environment, which means it's a program that's designed for enabling you efficiently and effectively to write code in your computer. Now, it turns out you typically install VS Code on your own Mac or PC. It's free open source software, which means anyone can download it on their own computer. But typically when installing it on your own computer, particularly to use for programming with a language like Python, there's a few other steps as well. You need to install support for Python itself. You might need to configure some of the lower level implementation details of your computer just so that things work. And so instead for this course, we recommend that you use VS Code, yes, but you use it in the cloud by way of CS50's own implementation thereof on top of something called GitHub Codespaces, which is a hosted version of the same. To use Visual Studio Code for CS50, go to code.cs50.io where you'll be...
okay, let's do it right now. Code dot cs50.io io. You should do a code for CS50. I guess this is CS50 dev. Login. Authorize CS50. Right. your mama. Who is well, I guess this is my, I don't know what else that was. Down below. Abriendo remoto. Moderno oscuro. So this is taking a long time to do. Do it. This ain't working, guys. This ain't working. This ain't. There it is. Okay. Solo la cantidad indicada de interfaz. I can't read that. I ain't going to read no more. Alright.
Be prompted to log in with your free github.com account. After some number of seconds or minutes, you'll then be redirected to your so-called code space, which is your own virtual space in the cloud. Somewhere out there on GitHub servers, you will have access to your own storage space, really your own hard drive in the cloud, in which you can create files, run programs, and even organize everything in folders. You'll also have the ability to write code via that interface and much more. The interface you'll see typically looks a little something like this, whereby you'll have at the top left hand of your screen a file explorer that allows you to see all of the files you've created over time in your account. You'll then have the ability at the top to actually write code by creating one or more tabs in which to write your programs. And then perhaps less familiarly, at the bottom of the screen, you're going to have access to what's called a terminal window. A terminal window is a command line interface, or CLI, which is very much in contrast with what you and I are mostly familiar with nowadays, which is a graphical user interface, or GUI. Indeed, everything we're seeing here is graphical by nature. There's buttons and icons and windows. Familiarly, at the
I get distracted. I'm going to put this in screen mode. Fuck it. It's all filled with bots. My stream photos in the chat. I don't know how to. I'm going to see this in a moment. To put this here, I can't. There it is. All right, so I just realized that the light of my mouse is making you blind. What? Okay. I'm going to directly capture the screen. This. Agarra. So this, and when I get bored, I'm going to put this. What? That there. What? So I'm going to do it like this. I guess there is nothing that could go wrong. So I was in this and there and that and there we go. So now I will do this and this.
Run programs and even organize everything the same. To use Visual Studio Code for CS50, go to code.cs50.io, where you'll be prompted to log in with your free github.com account. After some number of seconds or minutes, you'll then be redirected to your so-called code space, which is your own.
I just realized that the camera will look horribly in that position. I'm going to make it more, put it there. I guess this will work. I'm going to see it in stream, live stream. So there. I guess it could work. So you can see what I'm coding and you can see what I'm seeing. Right? I guess this should be
Virtual space in the cloud. Somewhere out there on GitHub servers, you will have access to your own storage space, really your own hard drive in the cloud, in which you can create files, run programs, and even organize everything in folders. You'll also have the ability to write code via that interface and much more. The interface you'll see typically looks a little something like this, whereby you'll have at the top left hand of your screen a file explorer that allows you to see all of the files you've created over time in your account. You'll then have the ability at the top to actually write code by creating one or more tabs in which to write your programs. And then perhaps less familiarly, at the bottom of the screen, you're going to have access to what's called a terminal window. A terminal window is a command line interface, or CLI, which is very much in contrast with what you and I are mostly familiar with nowadays, which is a graphical user interface, or GUI. Indeed, everything we're seeing here is graphical by nature. There's buttons and icons and windows and more. But underneath the hood, you actually have access not only to your own virtual hard drive in the cloud, but actually your own server too. Somewhere out there on GitHub servers is your own server in a sense, your own virtual server, or technically called a container, in which all of your own files will live. You then have the ability to create files, run programs, even install additional software within that server or that container, because that server container is itself running its own operating system. And the operating system it's running is not Mac OS or Windows, with which you're probably familiar, but another popular operating system called Linux. And Linux is used by so many programmers and more nowadays, not only to write code, but to run it on their own servers as well. So how can you go about leveraging this new command line interface? Well, it's worth learning just a few commands that you might not have typed previously. These commands work not only in Linux, but also on Mac OS, and also with some modification potentially on Windows as well. But if you're using Visual Studio Code for CS50 in the cloud at code.cs50.io, you'll have the ability to run all these commands and more. And here is just a few of those that you can type. I'm going to go ahead now and type code, which actually is a command that comes with VS Code itself that enables me to create new files and open new tabs. I'm going to change screens over to my own computer here, in which I have full screen VS Code for CS50. So this is my browser window full screen connected to my own code space, my virtual container in the cloud. And suppose that I want to go ahead and create my own first program called hello.py, a program written in Python. In my terminal window, I could type code hello.py and hit enter. But before I do, notice at top left in my so-called file explorer, there's technically nothing there. There's some mention of code spaces and some mention of my own unique ID, but there's no actual files or folders there yet. But when I hit enter, thereby creating a new file called hello.py, I'm not only going to see it appear in just a moment in a tab where I can edit it, I'm also going to see a graphical representation of it up here, which is only to say that this environment, this integrated environment, all works cohesively. Here we go, hitting enter. My tab has opened, my prompt is blinking here so I can start writing code, but you'll also see that hello.py not only exists, but is highlighted as the file I've opened. Well, let me go ahead and write a very simple program now. Print, quote unquote, in parentheses, hello, comma, world, which, as you'll see, if not already, is perhaps the most formative, most canonical program you can write first in writing code in most any language. I'm going to go ahead now, and in my terminal window, I'm going to run one other command that you'll learn all the more about soon too. I'm going to run Python itself, which is not only a language, it's actually a program that understands that language. And if I specify not just Python, but a space, and the name of a file that I've created containing code written in that language, crossing my fingers as always and hit enter, I've just run my own program. Now on our Macs and PCs, we're generally in the habit of like pointing and double clicking on icons, or on our phones tapping on icons to launch some file or program. In a command line interface,
Yeah, but if I try to do the same, if I try to do the same in the Visual Studio Code here, have to put, I don't know, new file. What the fuck was it? Terminal. Okay. Just for the moment, I ain't going to use Visual Studios because I don't understand it yet.
or CLI, everything is done with the keyboard. You can use your mouse to move your cursor up and down as needed, but generally you do everything with your keyboard, not really with your mouse. Everything else on the screen can be clicked on, but in your terminal window, you'll generally see this prompt. A single dollar sign that does not mean dollar or currency for that matter. It's just a standard symbol that means type your commands here. And it's a visual indicator that you can type your next command. And indeed, the two commands I've just typed are code to create my new file within VS Code itself, and then Python, which we, CS50, already pre-installed into your code space so that you have built-in support from day one with writing your own code. Now there's other things I can do in this environment. I, for instance, could control click or right click up here and see a whole menu of options with which to edit or modify that file, just like on Mac OS or Windows. I could click on some of these icons at top left, the plus icon to create a new file or a new folder. So all of those GUI conventions, graphical user interface conventions, are still there, but you will and should get more comfortable over time with the command line interface alone, which does all of those things and more for you. In fact, here are just a few more of the commands that you can use within Linux and this command line interface specifically. We'll see in a moment ls, which allows you to list all of the files in your current folder. cp, which will allow you to copy a file from one place to another. mv, which will allow you to move a file or really rename it from one name to another. rm for remove, which will allow you to delete a file. Make dir, or mkdir, which will allow you to make a directory, that is a folder. cd, which will allow you to change directories from one folder to another, rmdir, which will allow you to remove a directory, and then clear, which will just aesthetically clear your terminal window if, like me, you like to keep things a little bit tidy. Now, these are just some of the commands you can type within Linux at this command line, but they're really equivalent to all the kinds of things you and I already do frequently on our own Macs or PCs. Let me go back to VS Code here, and let's just try out a few of these here. I'm going to go ahead and first clear my screen as though we're starting from scratch, but this doesn't change or delete any of my files. It just clears my terminal window. I can alternatively hit Control L to do the exact same. Now I'm going to go ahead and type ls, but before I hit enter, note that ls kind of sounds like list, and indeed this command and almost all of those others were fairly succinct in that ls means list, but you only type the L and the S, no L-I-S-T. And this is true of a lot of command line interface commands, just to enable you and I to type things more quickly. A lot of these commands have these this very succinct syntax and names. So here we go. I've typed out ls already. I'm going to go ahead and hit enter, and you'll see only one thing, hello.py, which is to say when I try to list all of the files in my current default folder that just automatically opens when I launch VS Code in the cloud, I only see the one file exists, which I can also see graphically here. Well, let me go ahead now and do something else. Let's make a copy of this file and call it goodbye.py, just so in anticipation of writing a second program that says goodbye world instead of hello. I'm going to do cp for copy, then the first name of the file, hello.py, then a space, and then the new name for the new file, goodbye.py, enter. And now notice nothing really has happened, and that's generally a good thing. If you don't see an error message down here, you've done well. But you do see graphically up here that both files now exist. Now I could open goodbye.py in a couple of ways. I could actually just go up here and double click on goodbye.py to open it here, or I can type the same command as earlier, code of goodbye.py, and now I'll have a second tab open here. And for parallelism, I could change this word from hello to goodbye, just so I have a second program now that is indeed the second file as well. Now, what if I decide that I don't want this file, and I'm going to go ahead and close it here, and I want to rename it and change it to from goodbye.py to farewell.py? Well, it still says goodbye.py up here, and if I type ls down here, I'll see a list of two files now that are in that same folder. Let me do mv for move, goodbye.py, and then something like farewell.py instead, enter. And you'll see that it changed up here at left, and if I type ls again, you'll see that it changed down here as well. Well, you know what, let's never mind with farewell.py. Let's go ahead and just remove this file altogether. I could go up here and single click on farewell.py in my file explorer, control click or right click, and then select delete. Or down here in my command line interface, I could do this. I could do rm space farewell, and now notice if I'm a little tired of typing out these long file names, Linux and command line interfaces frequently support autocomplete. So instead of typing farewell, I'm going to type FAR, which sounds like more than enough characters to finish the rest of my thought, and I'm going to hit tab on my keyboard, and it just finishes it for me without having to manually type the same. I'm going to go ahead and hit enter, and I'll see a somewhat cryptic message now, as many of them admittedly are. It's not an error, it's just a prompt. Remove regular file, quote unquote, farewell.py. This is just a safety check to make sure that I'm okay with deleting this file. Generally, when prompted with a question like this, go ahead and type in Y for yes or N for no, and hit enter. And now nothing bad seems to have happened in terms of any messages, but indeed, farewell.py is now gone. Well, what more can we now do? Let me clear up the screen just for aesthetic's sake here, and let's create one or more folders, not just files. Let me go ahead and make a directory here with makedir, and let me just call it folder, though I could call it anything I want. Alternatively, I could go up here to my file explorer, click on the plus icon here on the folder, and manually create a no folder as well. But here again, the goal is to focus on this command line interface instead. All right, make dir folder and hit enter. Nothing seems to happen in the way of error messages, but now notice there's not just hello.py, but a folder or directory called folder. Well, what now can I do with that? Well, let me go ahead and see what's inside. Well, in my GUI, my graphical user interface, I could click on the folder here in this little triangle and look inside, and of course there's nothing there, because I literally just created it. But let me do this now in my terminal window. Let me type ls after clicking down here, and we'll see both my folder, which by convention has a slash at the end to make visually clear that it's a folder, not a file, and there's hello.py. Let me go ahead now and change directory. Now on Mac OS or Windows, we would again just click or double click on the folder and see what's inside. In a command line interface, you need to be more deliberate. CD space folder, with or without the slash is fine, and then hit enter, and now you'll see that your prompt changed. There's still a $sign, but by convention, and this is a CS50 detail, though other people do this too in the world, we have prefixed your prompt with a just quick reminder of what folder you're in, so that you don't forget whether you're in your main folder where you began or some other folder therein. I'm going to go ahead now and type ls to list the contents of this folder, and of course there's nothing there because I haven't created any files. But if I do this, I could do code of farewell.py again to bring it back, but this time in this folder. Hitting enter, you'll see a new tab opens here where I can write some more code, but you'll also see hierarchically here that farewell.py is now inside of this folder. Now suppose this is a mistake and I didn't mean to do that. What can I do? Well, let me close the tab here even without writing any code, and down in my terminal window, let me do this. I'm going to type ls to confirm that, yep, farewell.py exists there, but suppose I want to move it into my main folder. Well, like on Mac OS or Windows, I could click on the file here, farewell.py, and just kind of drag it up or down to put it where I want. But let's move it. Not rename it this time, but move it using that same mv command instead. I want to move farewell.py to the parent folder. In the world of files and folders, you can think of things like a family tree. And if you want to go up hierarchically, you want to go into the parent folder, so to speak, whereas folder is conversely a child of the default folder in which we began. So I want to move farewell higher up. How do I express that? Well, another piece of syntax in a command line interface is typically this, ... is a symbolic representation of whatever the parent directory is, no matter what its name is. In this case, it's my own default folder. Doesn't even matter what its name technically is. It's not pictured on the screen. I'm going to go ahead and hit enter and watch what happens at top left in the graphical version of the same. We should see that farewell.py now pops out of the folder, and the indentation changed to imply that it's not inside of the folder now, it's alongside hello.py. Indeed, if I close the folder here, I don't see a difference because there's nothing in there as well. Let me type ls to confirm in my terminal window. There's nothing in folder. Let me now go back to my parent directory, and I can do this in different ways. And like with programming itself, there's going to be many ways sometimes that you can navigate a command line interface. Here's one. I can do cd for change directory, and then space ... to go back to the parent directory. But another technique, especially if you're a little less comfortable with this whole new world, is whenever in doubt, if you want to go back to your default directory in which you began when you logged in, just type cd with nothing after it and hit enter, and you'll be whisked away back to the starting point. Indeed, if I type ls now, I'll see farewell.py, my folder, if empty, and hello.py as well. Now, I don't really need this folder because there's nothing in it anymore, so let's go ahead and delete that. I could click on it with control-click or right-click in the File Explorer, and I could delete it manually like in Mac OS or Windows, or I can use my newfound commands, rmdir for remove directory, space folder, with or without the slash, and hit enter, and because it's empty, I'm not even prompted, it just goes away quite cleanly. And a final technique that you'll find quite helpful in the context of a command line interface is that it tends to store your whole history of commands. In fact, not just autocomplete, but if I hit up and up and up and up, you'll see my history of all previous commands scrolling up on there on the screen, which is helpful if I just want to execute one of them again. I don't need to manually type it out. I can scroll up and down and find the one that I want. So this then is just a scratching of the surface of a command line interface in the context of Visual Studio Code in the cloud. Most of these commands would be the same whether on your Mac or PC, at least if you're using a terminal window that's connected to a computer running Linux, be it a container or a virtual machine or an actual server somewhere in the cloud. In the weeks to come for this class, will you have access to code.cs50.io and in turn your own code space so that you have access 24/7, 365 via a browser alone, so long as you have internet access without needing to install anything on your own Mac or PC. Toward the end of the semester, if you're feeling more comfortable and would like to use the same software, VS Code, if not Linux as well, you'll be able to also install those for free on your own Mac or PC and continue programming onward even after the course's own end. This then was Visual Studio Code for CS50, and with it, a command line interface, and this is CS50 itself.
Okay. But so I I see this. I see this. I'm going to look that again. Look it up. I'm going to look it up again. The video that we recently watched together. I'm going to watch it again after I watch this and learn all the functions variables that they are going to teach us or teach me in this case. If someone could tell me how to delete these comments, I don't like these comments. So we are 12 minutes. I'm going to take a little rest. I'm sleeping here, and I will come back in like an hour. See you in an hour.